All right, we're going to find the area of this triangle. So the first thing I want us to do is write down the formula. Area equals base times height divided by 2, or half of the base times height. Okay, so I think kids do much better with base times height and at the end divide by 2. Now the reason it's base times height divided by 2 is because if you notice, bear with me, this actually now made up a rectangle. However, think about, we only want to find half of the rectangle, which happens to be a triangle. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. Now, the height usually gives kids trouble because really, when it's all three sides, kids get confused. They don't know which one to use. But I'm going to tell you that the height is from the vertex to the opposite side, which is 3. Okay. Now, I tell my students that your height is perpendicular to the base. Now, I realize this is not the best way to tell kids, but can I draw a T? I can. I can draw a T right there. Now, if most kids want to use the 3.5, and I'm looking at this going, can I make a T? No, not even if I did it the other way. So, it's all I can remind you is it's perpendicular to the base, and then here's your vertex, which is here at the point. Now, if you got confused, think about it like this. You use this vertex, the opposite side is 6.5. So regardless, your base and your height still end up with 6.5 and 3. Okay, just kind of, I'm going to plug it in. And the reason I always like my students to plug stuff in is because sometimes it'll give you the area and then you have to find the base or the height. So 6.5 times 3. You don't have to line up decimals. You don't have to add a 0, put a decimal. I see kids do that and it's not necessary. So there was 1 decimal place in the question. So there'll be 1 decimal place in the answer. So it's actually 19.5. However, I'm going to divide that by 2. So my area is 9.75 centimeters squared. And the reason it's squared is because it is 2-dimensional area. All right, let's do one more. I strongly recommend pause the video, try to do this yourself, and then come back. All right, guys, so let's refresh our memory. This is my base, 15.1. And then the height is 7.4. Tries to trick you by giving you the side length of 12.6 on both sides. We don't need that. So we do have some ugly numbers, and most kids don't like multiplying decimals, and that's okay. We're going to first write down my formula, base times height, divide by 2. 15.1 times 7.4. And I know that's not academic vocabulary. Is 15 1/10 times 7 4/10. I would prefer to convert to a fraction, but I'm not going to do that because most kids hate fractions, even though decimals are fractions. Okay, so now you got 151 times 74. Now, what I'm doing is just ignoring the decimals. 4 and 20, 4, 6. Okay, so in my question, I had 2 decimal places total, so I have to have 2 in my answer. So my actual answer so far, before I divide by 2, is 111.74. Sorry. I don't use a calculator because my students can't use a calculator, and it's not fair. I mean, even though I tell my students fair is not equal. And I know some teachers feel like, well, I get to. And I just want to kind of go through what the kids are going through. Plus talk about all the mistakes that I typically see. So my area is 55.87 centimeters squared. I would recommend practicing these. I hope this helped. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe.